Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This episode is another interview episode, similar to the Melanie Kinnaman interview from a few months back. And in fact, sitting down with me this episode is another person from Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. The one and only Deborah Voorhees will be joining me in just a moment. Most of you horror fans out there know Deborah as Tina from Friday the 13th, Part 5. We talk about Friday the 13th, Part 5, as well as other aspects of her career. And we also talk about the new horror project that she has coming up. So here she is, Deborah Voorhees. So one of the things I did want to kind of jump into right away is even just a little bit before your official acting career started, and that was back in the early 80s. You were a Playboy bunny at the Playboy Club in Dallas. And,
right.
And I think that a lot of people, because even when I was talking to a couple people the other day about this, they were like, a Playboy bunny? So I think a lot of people just assume that that is like you were like a playmate, which is not what that is at all.
Right.
I know it's like a waitress kind of a thing, but can you give a little bit of more detail as to maybe what that actually entails?
Well, Playboy Bunny, I don't know how old you are, so you may or may not remember, but through the 60s, 70s, and part of the 80s, there were nightclubs. There are very high-end private nightclubs where only special key holders and their friends were allowed in. And the clubs, they had the traditional bunny outfits, which very kind of Victorian in nature in that, it had it was very tight bodice, no sleeves, but we had cuffs and collar and bunny ears, bunny tail. It was a lot of fun. It was, a neat experience. Being a Playboy bunny, you were treated a bit like a celebrity. When you go places, people would want your autograph and stuff because it was a really big deal. Hugh Hefner made quite an empire with the Playboy bunnies, and not just his magazine, but also his nightclubs.
Did you ever get the chance to meet Hef at all?
I did. I went to his mansion in Los Angeles. I was invited out there for a party. And, it was a beautiful place. The grounds were spectacular. He traditionally had movie night and dinner and things like that out there. And it was just pretty much always a party. And he was in his pajamas.
Yeah, I think he was, if I remember right, I read somewhere that he pretty much was always in his smoking jacket and his silk pajamas.
Right. Yeah, that was definitely his attire.
Now, did that help you get into acting at all, or was that just kind of a side gig while you were trying to get into the business?
I don't know if it did or not. I guess it would depend. Did it when I went to audition for the TV show Dallas? I was working as a Playboy bunny. Did that matter to them? I don't know. I couldn't tell you for sure. I went in and I read for them. I ended up working on the Dallas show for 2 summers. I worked as a stand-in, which meant that I basically stood in for every dark-headed woman. So it was Victoria Principal and Linda and that group that I stood in for. Then I also did 7 speaking roles and several other extra roles on the show.
That was, when you were doing that, was probably right around the time that my parents were watching Dallas when I was a little kid. So
Right.
I'm 42. We talk about age all the time on the show. We always joke about us being old men, but I do remember. I don't remember specifically you being on Dallas, of course, but yeah, you had a couple of small television roles, I believe, and one or two film roles before you landed what I think probably the majority of our listeners anyway know you as, and you were Tina in Friday the 13th Part 5.
Right.
And so if you don't mind, I thought we would spend just a little bit of tiny bit of time talking about Friday the 13th Part 5. It actually is one of the, I don't know why we spend so much time talking about Friday the 13th Part 5 on Horror Heads, but we do for some reason. We actually had Melanie Kinnaman on the show about 6 months ago, I think it was.
Oh, neat.
So I do have a couple of questions for you about that movie.
Okay.
Because I know the Friday the 13th movies, back in the 80s were, they were competing with the other franchises of the time. And, one of the things that Friday the 13th movies were known for was they were using fake names when they were doing casting and all of that stuff. So when you were auditioning for Friday the 13th Part 5, how long did it take you to figure out what you were actually auditioning for?
Well, I know that several people didn't know it was a Friday the 13th until they were on the set. The story goes is that Ron Sloan and, he played Junior, and Kara Locatell played Mom. They were on set and first saw the mask there. But by the time I went for my third audition, I knew it was a Friday the 13th. When I first went into audition, it was very much like a cattle call. There were tons and tons of people there. I remember seeing the screenplays, a couple of them laying around, and they did have the repetition on there, which is what a lot of people thought it was called. We just went through a long line. It was really quite extraordinary to be chosen because it was such a huge cattle call. I couldn't even begin to tell you how many people were there.
So did you actually audition for the role of Tina, or were you just like a blind audition? Okay.
I went back in, I think, at least 3 times.
One of the things with Tina in Friday the 13th Part 5 is it is a little bit unfortunate that ratings board at the time was so rough on horror movies, because that particular kill, if it would have been unedited or a little bit more gory than what it is, probably would have been the number 1 kill of all time. Right.
And actually, I'm not sure. I guess maybe those rumors either got started because one, somebody was using that to promote the film. Oh, it was so much worse, so the rating board turned us down. Well, that gets a lot of attention, right? But it's not true. What we shot is what you got.
Oh, really?
I know that there were other kills that they did change, but not this one. A lot of people think that the garden shears were actually shown going through my eyes. Well, to do that, they would have had to have made a full head for me. That would have been there to take, obviously, the force of it. But they never did. The only thing they did was to do the mask that they put over my eyes and then put the blood in.
Mm.
Yeah. Just, I don't know. There's a lot of, I don't know. I think sometimes people just want to seem like they're in the know, and so they spread rumors and then they get out of control. And sometimes I think it probably comes from the publicity department, because why not spread something like that? Because it makes for a good story. It makes for news and stuff, but it's not true.
Oh,
Cracks me up.
Interesting. So do you have any juicy gossip stories from the shoot that you can tell that maybe nobody's ever heard before?
Probably not. I doubt it.
Yeah, if
The reality is, I mean, I've heard so much gossip from our set, from other people, from fans, nobody from the set themselves, no actors, no anything like that. Just these bizarre things that'll come at me from, and they're talking about all this partying and drugs and stuff. I suppose it could have happened. Maybe I wasn't the popular kid. Maybe I was invited, but I didn't see any of that. I mean, when you're an actor, you're a professional, you're working on a set. It was a Paramount film. You have a job to do and you want to get another job, and you're not going to fuck around like that unless you're stupid. Now maybe it was after hours or something, but yeah, no, definitely not on set.
Well, I will say from my own personal experience, because I read the Crystal Lake Memories book, and then I watched that entire, man, was it like 7 hours or whatever it is, that documentary? It's off
right.
Of that. And there is a lot of of that type of stuff, even like in there. And then you hear it too. I mean,
I can tell you there's a lot of stuff that was false in there too.
Oh, I'm sure. I am absolutely sure.
So it was, I would take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
I know it's not as good of a story, but
no, that's fine.
I'm a journalist as well, so I stick with the facts.
So that was the other thing too I wanted to touch on, was you did mention that you're a journalist. So after you made Friday the 13th, you did, what did you do? You did one more movie. Was it after that or before that or right around the same time as that?
That's a good question. Actually, I think that the other movies I did were before. It was Avenging Angel 2 and oh gosh, I'm going to run blank on the other one.
Appointment with Fear is what.
Appointment with Fear, yeah. Those were before, I believe. And then also did Riptide and several other things. I was on Days of Our Lives and things like that. So
cool.
I definitely enjoyed my time in Hollywood. It's an interesting, fun place to be and go.
Yeah, I've only visited.
Yeah.
And so, but one of the interesting things with you is, so when you got out of filmmaking or acting, you kind of went into what most people would consider a normal life. So you were a teacher, I believe, for a while, and then you were a journalist.
Actually, I definitely wouldn't call it a normal life. I don't know many journalists. I was with the Dallas Morning News and the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and I covered every kind of story you can possibly imagine, from the fall of the Berlin Wall through the eyes of a Russian immigrant to, stories about homeless and back when gays were first starting to do the union ceremonies, and when gays and lesbians were getting together to have children together. It became a bit of a trend. And so, yeah, definitely not normal life.
Okay.
I've had a fantastic life.
Well, that's cool.
I teach for a while, and I taught advanced placement British literature. So I was teaching for them getting credit for both college and high school at the same time. And I enjoyed that very much too. And, I'm a bit of a Shakespeare geek, so that was a lot of fun for me. And I made sure that it was a lot of fun for my students. I didn't throw a book at them and say, let's turn to chapter 1 and do the questions at the end. We actually did a lot of really magnificent creative things, everything from writing stories to painting murals to writing songs to, poetry to just about anything that you can imagine.
Speaking of Shakespeare, I do know that you were involved with another movie called Billy Shakespeare.
Right.
And I saw that movie after me and you started talking last week or the week before.
Oh, cool.
In preparation for this. And if folks want to check that out, I believe it's on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure if it's anywhere.
It's on Amazon.
Yeah, and because I rented it, or I bought it or something, one of the two. So it's out there. I didn't see it on any of the other streaming services.
No, it's just available on Amazon.
And so the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which is the current project that you're in the midst of, and I know that you're kind of doing a little bit of a media blitz for it now, but you are in the process of doing some crowdsource fundraising for your upcoming movie, 13 Fanboy. So I thought I'd give you an opportunity to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, 13 Fanboy is a really fascinating film. Kind of think of it as it's a horror thriller. So think of like Cape Fear with the horror kills. So that really, you know how in Cape Fear that the intensity is just always there. You know, the killer is right there. That's really what we're shooting for with this film. And it's about an obsessed fan who is stalking with the intent to kill actresses from the franchise, from Friday the 13th. And he's basically going after his favorites. It's there are lots and lots of twists and turns, and you really don't know who the killer is until right at the end. And we've got a fabulous cast, a lot of wonderful people coming back, and we've got some wonderful young up-and-coming brilliant actors joining us. So we're super excited about it. We're doing really well. We're at 71% with, I don't know, I think we have like 27 days left or something like that. So we're doing terrific.
And if folks, I'll put a link in the show notes for this as well, but if folks want to check that out and get involved with that, how can they do that?
You just go to Indiegogo, type in 13 Fanboy, and it'll pop right up.
Perfect. Yeah, in this episode, so just so you're aware, we're recording this on Saturday, and I'm going to try to have this out on Tuesday. So this will come out on whatever that is, December 3rd, 4th, whatever that is. So to still have plenty of time for you to get involved with the fundraising. So it should have, well over 20 days after that as well. So.
Right. Terrific. Thank you.
Before we started getting into the interview, we were kind of talking about conventions and stuff. So you've partaken as a celebrity guest at conventions before. I believe I found a couple of them that you attended. Is that correct?
I have been to 2, yes.
Okay.
I have Sean Clark is my convention agent, and he had been after me for a while to go to these, and I finally decided to and really enjoyed it. Meeting the horror fans was really quite exciting because they were just so kind and so nice. And I really didn't know what to expect. And it was just a really nice, pleasant experience. So I hope to do more.
Yeah, we know Sean. We've run into him a couple of times at it's actually kind of funny with I've told the story on the air before, but cool Sean Clark story that I have is the very first flashback weekend that I attended. Sean was there, doing his thing with some of the other guests that were there, but he was premiering his movie at that particular convention. The Legend of Boggy Swamp or something like that. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Okay, right.
And
he's a neat guy.
Yeah, and it was kind of cool because he was like one of the first, like, he's one of those guys, like if you're like a horror fan or a convention person, you know who he is, but like to the normal person, they're like, who? It was kind of cool because I watched his movie, and then after his movie, like he was like in a bar and like shared a beer with him, and had a beer with him. I didn't share a beer with him, but had a beer with him and talked to him for like 45 minutes or something. And it was like, it was really cool. And then another kind of funny Sean Clark story is a couple years later, was at same convention Flashback weekend, and he was there, and he was signing photos, and he wasn't charging anything or whatever. And I was telling him, hey, I met you a couple of years ago, and he's like, oh yeah, and stuff. And so he signed this 8x10 picture just as a gag. I took that picture and I framed it, and then I put it on my desk at my work, and people would see the autograph on it, and so they would get all like, oh, cool, who's that? And so I would like go into this whole explanation of who Sean Clark was, and by the time I was like 5 minutes into it, they'd be like, ugh. And like some people would just like turn away and just walk away because they would just be like, I don't care. But he is he is one of the coolest guys out there. He really is.
Yeah, I like him very much.
Before Sean finally convinced you to partake in the conventions, were you one of those people that were like, nobody wants to see me? Why would I go to that?
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, exactly. Yeah. I had no idea that, even though, I was on Facebook, and so I did know I was, contacted every single day of my life by fans at that point, but still, to go to a convention that anybody would want my autograph or want to come get their picture taken with me. Yeah, I couldn't imagine really that anybody would care, or that it would be, enough people to, make the trip, affordable or anything like that. So yeah, no clue.
Yeah, it is so crazy to hear folks like you say that, and then you go to these things, and because even people at the conventions and stuff too are, they're all like, oh, I can't believe you guys are here to, hang out and talk and stuff. And it's great to hear that from your side, because there are folks out there that it's just a cash grab for them, of course. From being a fan, it's always a cool thing to go and talk to people, and that's always one of the more, I'm not sure what the right term for it is, but every year we go to Flashback, and we always do a follow-up episode afterwards. And usually the highlight of that follow-up episode is the one celebrity that spent the time to actually talk to us and, just talk about whatever. Right. This past year, we actually had lunch with Michael Berryman. We spent like a little bit over an hour with him. And we didn't talk about movies or anything. We just talked, Right. And a couple of years ago, we spent probably a good hour talking to Amy Steele from Friday the 13th Part 2. Again, you're not talking about movies or anything, just actually talking about psychology, which was kind of interesting. But
she's a very intelligent woman.
Yeah, it was very cool. So besides 13 Fanboy, do you have anything currently in the works or anything else recent that you want to
listen, I've got my hands full with that, because we've got the script written, we're casting, we're raising money on Indiegogo, we're planning out, where we're shooting, dates, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, my hands are full at the moment.
Do you guys have any sort of timeline for the film yet?
Our goal is to have it out late next year. We have a theatrical release, and our distributors are looking at either Halloween or the next Friday the 13th, which I believe is September, I believe.
We were just talking about this the other day, because that's one of the things that we actually do on this show is we always Friday the 13th episode on Friday the 13th. And it was
right.
I think it was, is it September? Yeah, it's September, and then I don't think there's another one like right away in December.
Oh, is there? There's a second one in December? Okay, I was thinking that earlier, I was thinking that the next one was December. So we do have two this year. Yes. I had thought we only had one this year.
Nope. September and then
coming up the for the 19th.
Right. Yep. September and then December again. So.
Okay. Oh, okay. Good.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, and Friday 13th release would be kind of cool. That's kind of the theme of it.
Absolutely.
Did you happen to see that that most recent fan film that was a little bit big that was based off of Friday 13th, the Never Hike Alone?
Oh, absolutely. It was fabulously well done. Vincent DeSante, he was both the director and he also wore the mask and played Jason in it. And then Andrew Laity, who played Kyle. They're both in this film in 13.
Oh, cool. I was not aware of that. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're fabulously talented and very professional. They came out to New Mexico and worked with me on our Indiegogo video. And instead of doing just sit down and saying, hey, come give me money, we put together a little mini horror film for everybody. And just a fun, look, kind of a way of honoring Friday the 13th fans.
All right, Deborah, so I think we covered everything that I wanted to talk about. So I greatly thank you for spending the time talking to me today. I
really, really appreciate you doing this and appreciate you taking time with me. It was really kind of you.
No, thank you. Like I said before, it is being a child of the 80s and growing up on, Friday the 13th and Halloween and, Nightmare on Elm Street and all those movies and stuff. It still blows my mind that Tina from Friday the 13th, Part 5 is going to sit down and talk to me.
Well, I tell you what, it blows my mind that anybody thinks that.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
I always know why wouldn't I?
Oh, I know.
I would talk to you.
I remember the first time that we went to a convention and we walked in. I mean, we were just like little kids in a candy store. We were like, oh my God, that's so-and-so and that's so-and-so. And,
oh, neat.
And then it turned, everybody's like, super nice and really appreciative. And I mean, there's certain people that you don't get the chance to spend as much time talking to as you would hope to if they're more popular or whatever. But it's just always, even just like I said, just like walking around and stuff and you bump into somebody and you're like, oh, hey, you're from so-and-so and I loved you in that. And they're like, that's awesome. I'm like, I know it's awesome.
Oh, neat.
Thank you so much.
Well, we really enjoyed meeting you guys, and it's neat to know that there are people out there that still appreciate it and still love it. So it's, I am always amazed by that and very grateful for it.
Well, that is very cool, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and I'll go ahead and let you go, and well, hopefully I'll see you at a convention at some point.
Sounds terrific. I would love that.
All right. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.